No, we still got about this much on each side. Yeah.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. You'll notice in behind me here that I have a sea of poppies. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit before we get started, because maybe you know that next week is Remembrance Day. But a little known fact is that there's another important date on November 8th, which is known as Indigenous Veterans Day. So something for you to look up and learn about. And one of the greatest Anishinaabe warriors who ever existed is the Great Shingwak. And today we have with us a direct descendant of Shingwak himself. So I thought I would just mention that before we get started. And I'm going to now turn it over to Isaac and Shannon, who will introduce themselves and talk about a really important thing today about treaties. Over to you, Shannon and Isaac.
Ani Baju, Ninga Biwanong, Jesus Indigenous Cause, Moose Dodam, Lake of the Woods in Dunjaba, Nimkii Aazhibikoong, and Dow. My name's Shannon Paul, and I'm known as West Sun Woman, and I'm also known as Cloudburst Woman.
Cloudburst, that's pretty cool. What does cloudburst mean?
Cloudburst means when there's a single cloud and it starts bursting out raining.
Wow, that sounds very exciting. Like, Ani Bojo, Manzinapkinegego'anaabe Indigenous Cause, Untitled and Dunjaba, Genoji and Dodem, Anishinaabe Nini and Dow, Nimkii Aazhibikoong Nin Da. My name is Isaac Murdoch. I come from Serpent River First Nation. My Ojibway name is the animal who paints the rocks, which is a very fascinating name. And you know, like old cave paintings, when you see like the red paintings of animals and people and like bows and arrows, that's what my name is named after, the animal who paints the rocks. And I come from a village called where the serpents are painted on the rocks. I'm Ojibway, and I live at a place called Thunder Mountain, which is a very magical place, and it has many stories. And it's a great honor to be here with you, of course, today. And today we're going to be talking about something called Wawindamageewin.
Wawindamageewin.
And what that means is
promises.
A promise. Because a long time ago, the Ojibway people and the British people, the ones that came all the way from England, we made a promise. And that promise became a treaty. And so how we understand a promise is, for example, if I'm going to make a promise to Shannon, right, I'm going to be like, Shannon, I promise no matter what, that I'm going to give you this sacred flower. So the promise comes from my heart, right here, comes out of my mouth, and guess what? It goes into Shannon's mouth, and it goes into her heart. And that's how we view a promise. And so now my heart is connected to Shannon's heart. And that because I have to fulfill my promise, I must give Shannon the flower. Here you go.
And this promise will last forever and ever and ever.
Yes, because it came from the heart. And did you know that a long time ago that we made promises with the British? And let me tell you a little bit about the British. The British, they lived way far away, all the way in Europe, and they had their own country called England. Have you ever heard of England? When did you first learn about England?
Oh, I learned about England when I was a lot older.
Yeah, eh? Well, you're getting to learn about England right now. And it's a little country far away across the ocean. And of course, many years ago, they came here and we made a promise with them. But I'm going to talk a little bit about what a promise means. But before we start, we always want to start things in a good way. We're going to have, of course, this amazing singer beside me sing a song. So that way, everything that we say and everything that we do during this class is going to be with the best intentions. And what intentions means is it's going to be done from the heart. And so with that, we're going to let Shannon sing this song. But first, gotta check out our rattles.
Whoa.
Woo!
Have you ever seen a rattle like this, guys? Okay, I'm gonna sing one of our very special songs. Well, hey, ha, well, hey, ha. Well, hey, ha, ya, well, hey, ha. Well, hey, ha, ya, ya, way, ha, ya, well. Well, hey, ha, ya, well, hey, yo, ya, hey, ya. Wabinu in the crag in the noondua. Minodakos in the crag in the noondua. Well, hey, ha, ya, ya, way, ha, ya, hell. Well, hey, ha, ya, ya, way, ha, ya. Well, hey, hi, yo, hey, yo, ya, hey, ya.
Yay! That was really cool. We should have sang it for 10 minutes.
Yeah, and we should have warned you guys that the song does make you want to dance.
It does. Can you just do sing one verse?
Sure.
Okay.
If that's what you really like.
I would really like that.
Well, hey, hi, ya, well, hey, ha. Well, hey, hi, ya, well, hey, ha. Well, hey, hi, ya, ya, way, hi, ya, hell. Well, hey, hi, ya, well, hell. Hey, yo, ya, hey, ya. Wabinu in the crag in the noondua. In the doggos in the crag in the noondua. Well, hey, hi, ya, ya, way, hi, ya, hell. Well, hey, hi, ya, ya, way, hi, ya. Well, hey, hi, yo, hey,
Oh, hey. Okay, so
back to
the promise. So a long time ago, when we made promises with the British, we sat around and we sang songs for a very long time to make sure that the promises would go well and to make sure that everything that was said was done from the heart. But the promise is also very important because we recorded the promises oftentimes that we had with people and animals and trees and nature. We had a special way to make a promise. And yes, it's true. We have promises with trees and animals and all of those things so that we always respect nature. So a long time ago, we made promises with lots of things, not just people, but lots of different things. And so I'm going to tell you a little story about how sometimes we keep the promise alive. And here's the story. Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, 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 ba, bum, ba, bum. Woo! Ani, bonjour. Nana bonjour Indigenous cause. My name is Nanabush. And I'm going to tell you a little story. A long time ago, my grandmother, she lived on the moon. And her name was Nookamis. And she's a very beautiful grandmother. And Nookamis fell off the moon when she was a little girl. And when she landed in the water on Earth, her medicine bag opened up. And all of the medicine that she got from the stars went all the way to the bottom of the lake. And it was very, very sad because she was mad because all of her medicine was gone, all of her star medicine. But guess what? There was something watching on a hill. What was that watching on the hill?
it was a makwa.
A makwa. You know what a makwa is? It's a bear. A bear. And a bear taught of course, Nokomis, the grandmother, all the medicines of the earth, and she filled up her medicine bag again because she lost all of it. But years later, her grandson, Nanabush, of course, got into a fight with the big serpents of the water, and the serpents flooded the earth. And when they flooded the earth, they were trying to get Nanabuju. They did not like Nanabuju because Nanabuju was always trying to fight them. And serpents are big. They're really big. And so after this great big flood, Nanabuju won the battle and created the whole world again. And when they created the world, there was one animal that was mad. It was pouting. Do you know what pouting is?
Pouting is when you're like, hmm.
You know when you're pouting, your mouth even goes like this. Look at her mouth. It's like, turn that frown upside down. Book. Anyway, so of course, Turtle was pouting. And because Turtle didn't help create the world. And so what Nanabush did was Nanabush called Turtle up to the water and shot an arrow at the turtle. Not to kill the turtle, but just to scare the turtle. And when the turtle came up, it was full of mud. And when the arrow just nicked the turtle's shell and bounced off, the tail flicked up into the sky, and it created the Milky Way. All that star medicine that was in that bag that got dropped in the water a long time ago,
It went flying into the sky and it turned into stars.
turned into stars. And did you know that some of that medicine that she lost in the water so long ago is still there?
All the medicine that she had from her bag is all in the sky today.
And did you know that some of it's still in the water? And that there are some little animals called a monadosh. And these are like little worms. And they grow up. And what they do is they collect that medicine from Nokomis's bag that she lost. This little worm goes around the water and it starts collecting all that medicine that she lost in the water. And this little worm stores this medicine on its back. Right here. Tuk tuk. And guess what and of course, once those animals pass away, the medicine washes up to the shore. And do you know what that medicine is?
That's the medicine.
Dum,
The medicine.
Dum, dum, dum.
Ta-da.
It's the shell. And so we believe that the shell is made out of medicine that comes from the moon and stars.
Now, isn't that just beautiful?
It's very beautiful.
And I see there's a little bit of purple on there.
Yes, there's a little bit of purple on there. And the white part of the shell, which is this one here, that means that things are very, very pure and clean. And the little bit of purple represents things that are not good. And that it's to remind us that we're supposed to be kind to each other and that we're supposed to be good to each other. And that when we make a promise that it's free from fighting, that it comes from the heart, and that it's very truthful.
Mm-hmm.
And this here is called migas.
This is a migas.
Wow. And a long time ago, our people used to make beads out of this shell. And well, not just a long time ago, some people still do.
And do you want to see what the beads look like?
Dum, da, dum, dum.
This is very important.
Dum, da, dum, dum. You see all the little beads in here? These beads are made from that shell. And of course, this shell here is a promise, these shells. And they used to make agreements and promises using these wampom belts. And these wampom belts, or these migas belts, they talk about promises. So this one here is called Gado'naganana, the dish with one spoon. And when the British came here, belts were passed between each other about promises. But not only belts, there was something else. There was medals, like
Oh.
very shiny silver medals. And would you like to see one?
Yeah, let's bring out the medal.
Okay. I just happen to have one right here.
And so when promises were made and they were regarding about sharing, they would give these wampum belts to each other so that the promise could be held forever. And they also gave medals.
So the British, the ones that we're talking about, gave these medals.
You could see the reflection on there.
It's so shiny that you can't see the reflection on there.
And if you could see, there's two people shaking hands. They're making a promise.
They are. And they're making a promise. You'll see the sun. It's kind of hard to see. Maybe if I go back a little bit. But this is made out of pure silver. And they say that every year we have to go to these metals and we have to shine them and polish them so that our promises will forever shine brightly. And that's what they say. So as Indigenous people, as the Ojibway, we were part of the Wampom Belts, and the British gave the Anishinaabe, our tribe, these medals, which is very fascinating.
And are you Ojibway?
I am Ojibway. I am definitely Ojibway, but not completely full Ojibway. My great-great-grandfather came from Scotland.
Wow. That's
Yes.
really nice too.
He came from Scotland, and he was very, very strong, and he could play a lot of great music. And so anyway, that's how we know a promise. From heart to heart, we use beads made from the
Beads.
shells.
We use songs.
Songs. The shells come from the stars. And we use our rattles and songs to fulfill a promise. And the British, of course, to uphold their end of the promise, gave us the medals, which is kind of neat. And so I believe that a promise is very sacred, because when you have a promise, when you make a promise,
you have to keep that promise.
You have to keep that promise.
Especially if that promise came from your heart and it can't be taken away.
That's correct. That's correct. Just like when I promised to give Shannon that flower, I gave her the flower. Now she has the flower.
Yes.
And that's a promise.
So he can't take it away.
No, it's not mine anymore because it was a promise.
And that's what these represent, are promises.
Very good. They represent promises. And so we're going to sing another song.
Yay!
That talks about the promises.
Yes.
And we're going to get out our trusty rattles. These are made out of wood.
And this one is made out of birch bark.
It is.
You kind of see the little lines inside.
Wow.
So we're going to sing a very old song. So you guys are very, very lucky. This is an old song from a long time ago. It's really special. Not a lot of people know this song. And this song talks about the promises that were made on these lands that we live on today.
Wow. Yes, they are. They come from this. The song is about us living together. And you know what? As Indigenous people, Everybody that lives here, we all have a promise with each other that we're going to be kind, that we're going to make sure that the land is always looked after, which means that we can't be polluting things and garbage. We can't be throwing bubblegum wrappers on the ground. Very important. Or even bubblegum. You know, we have to make sure that the earth is always, always clean. That was one of the promises that was made a long time ago. And what are some of the other promises that were made before we sing this song?
That we need to share
Share
and help each other
and help each other.
and not to bother anybody in a mean way.
We have to be nice to each
We have to be
other.
nice to each other. And we have a responsibility to take care of the land.
Oh, we have to take care of the land. Yay. Okay. Well, let's sing this song. And Shannon, of course, you can sing it. And if you let me, I'll help you sing.
I'll let you help me.
Okay. Kandamba sinin, kandamba sinin, ekanamaban, kinakinigayan. Kandamba sinin, maje makazin yoyan, maje makazin yoyan. Maje makazin yoyan, maje makazin yoyan. Ben majda igwamaba, ikens megomen. Kandamba sinin, kandamba sinin, ekanamaban, kinakinigayan. Kandamba sinin, maje makazin yoyan, maje makazin yoyan. Maje makazin yoyan, maje makazin yoyan. Kandamba sinin, ekanamaban, kinakinigayan. Kandamba sinin, maje makazin yoyan, maje makazin yoyan, maje makazin yoyan, maje makazin yoyan. Yo. Okay, great. So that's a very old song. And that talks about the promises and the agreements that were made between the Ojibway people and the people that came all the way from across the ocean. And that's a song that was passed down in my family from generation to generation. And it's an Ojibway song. And of course, me and Shannon are both Ojibway. And so it's really, really cool to be able to sing that song. Songs are really cool. So just to recap what a promise is, it comes from my heart, comes out of my mouth, goes all the way into Shannon's mouth, bloop, and goes down to her heart. And then I make the promise, I will give you this.
And the promise can never be broken.
It's always
'Cause
there.
a promise is a promise.
A promise is a promise. A promise is a promise. Okay. So remember the story a long time ago. Nokomis, the grandmother, right, fell into the water. Her medicine bag opened up,
Medicine bag.
and all of her star medicine went into the water, and she lost it. But an old bear, married her. Yes, an old bear married her.
What?
I know. They were in love. It's crazy. They were madly in love. And the bear taught her the medicines of the earth, but her star medicine was all in the water. And little animals start to collect that star medicine, and they start to store it on their back, which are these shells. And of course, with the shells, we would make our promises using these belts called wampom belts.
Wampom.
And so these belts represent a promise. And so whenever you see the wampom belts, you might see them when you get older. You might hear more about them as you get older. Always remember they're a promise. And that right now, everybody has a promise to each other, which is to be good to each other,
Share
be kind,
and take care of the land
don't be greedy,
and help each other.
and help each other. It's so simple. And so that's how we should always be. And you know what? That's a good way to be. That's a really good way to be, because when we're like that, then everybody's happy. There's lots of happiness all over the place.
Mm.
And that's what we want to do, is we all want to be happy and kind to each other, and make sure that the lands and waters are always clean and always pure all the time. And those were the promises that were made a long time ago.
Mhm. And how do we say promises in Ojibway in our language?
It's we dung
Wawi dung,
is a way to say promise.
wawi dung.
Owindagame is also a promise.
Owindagame.
Yes. And so that's also a promise. It depends how you say it in a sentence. But wawin dagmang is a promise. And so we want to thank you as we explained the promises of the past, which some people will call a treaty or an agreement. And it was really fun to be here with you today.
It was so fun. And I hope that you learned a lot. And if you have questions and you're curious, ask your adults, and you can ask Jody, who was on the screen earlier. And I hope that you learned a lot. And remember, promises last for a long time, and it's important to keep promises, even if it's just saying it to each other, and we still have to keep that promise.
Yes, we have to try to keep our promises, because promises are important, especially the big promises, right? So that's very important. So thank you so much. We're so happy to be able to be here with you today. And we hope all of you good health and happiness, and that you're happy. And we hope that you get to play outside today, and that it's nice out there. And if it's snowing, then we're happy too, because snow is really important.
Why is it important?
Because it gives Mother Nature a break. And so, like, almost like a nap. And so in the springtime, Mother Nature wakes up and everything's alive again. So everything needs to have a little sleep. Yeah. So thank you, everybody.
Bama P.
Bama P, go up and in. See you.